Welcome to the Why Music Podcast, where we give you the conversations that musicians have, whether we're on gigs, behind the scenes, and all the different places we end up. Now, before we get into the podcast, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Musicians Local, servicing all your music needs. If you need musicians, a band, singers, DJ, shop dancers, you give them a call and they got you. All right, Musicians Local. Check them out on Instagram and on online, and they'll be more than willing and happy to service your event or whatever need you have. All right. That being said, we're back. All right. So today's topic is musicians, studio musicians versus just your regular live musician who only plays gigs and things like that. The question is, does doing studio work make you a better musician? Does it affect your performance on live gigs? I mean, who would like to go first?
I can throw a couple ideas out there.
Okay.
I think you should do both. You know you should do both.
Yeah.
It makes you more well-rounded. It makes you more versatile. Think of it this way. You can do a lot of live performances. You can be busy almost all year round. You can be busy all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, that busyness just stops.
Yeah.
And then you need to also have an asset. Whereas as long as you're recording or know how to work in the studio, you're an asset. You can do what you need to do and make money that way as well. And then when work picks up on live, you can do both. But I do feel that doing both, you learn a certain level of discipline, decision making, as far as creative ideas. Even whether you save it for the studio or you save it for live, you'll know why. There's more intention behind you doing what you do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's a couple of my thoughts. I got a couple more when they come.
Okay. All right. How about you, Mikey? What do you think, man?
Well, I agree with everything he said, but I felt like me personally being in the studio space has like prepared me for being a live musician. So I'm more aware of what's going on in the band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more aware of what I'm playing and how leveled I am compared to everyone else. I even like carefully watch like EQ wise.
Yeah.
I'm very careful with doing that. So I don't like to like be louder than everybody else. And the studio has also helped me listen to everybody else. So it definitely helped my live playing way more.
That's a good point. Yeah, cause like I haven't done that many studio work, but I've noticed after having done the stuff I've done, like when you get on stage to play, you're hyper aware of almost everything now. You're just like, okay, wait a minute. Like this guy's here, I'm here.
Mm.
You know, like you're saying, like your EQ, what parts other people are playing.
Mm.
It makes more sense to you how your part fits in to the whole picture, as opposed to if you just, let's say you're at a lounge or something, and they're like, yo, we're playing this song, and everybody got their volume, and everybody's waiting for the sound guy to EQ everybody, and it's just like, you can have the guitar playing. I got nothing against you guitar players, but y'all just playing loud sometimes. But you can have
Just
the guitar.
because you have an amp doesn't mean you need to blow out the amp.
Yeah, guitar players just.
Bass players too.
Bass players too.
Yeah.
Maybe not Mikey, but
Nah,
bass
nah,
players
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like.
Turn my amp up. We don't care about your amp. You care about your amp. You'll be heard in the system.
Exactly. You know, but like you hear, you go to gigs where you see guys. You know, there's certain instruments where, you know, there's certain instruments where the guys are so happy. What's the word? I don't have the proper term for it, but like they're ready to just play lines over everything. You know what I'm saying? Like horn section, sometimes sax players, and guitar players, keyboard players do it too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Some guy, second keys, those guys be wilding out.
Yeah.
But like when you play in studio settings, after you played in a studio setting, you start. If you're conscious, you know, if you're logical, and you get on a stage, then you're like, oh wait a minute, I can't do this. Like this don't sound good anymore. Like before, when you didn't do that, they throw you in any situation you just played, and there'd be this battle between people who's louder and whatever like that,
Yeah.
and you see dudes always turning that button up until they can't turn no more, and then they're looking at the sound guy like, yo, but everybody's like, yo, bro, you're too loud. You're louder than everybody.
Or I'm distorting. I don't know why I'm distorting. Fix it. You're at 100 and you're at plus 18 decibels. You're gonna distort on all your sounds.
Exactly.
Fix it.
But then you sit there and you just like, after you do studio, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't sound good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just hear it as noise after a while. You're like, I was doing this.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if you guys, but like I remember growing up in churches where the sound guy was just a guy who just
just push.
he
the
was
faders,
just a
push
guy
the
who
knobs,
just pressing knobs.
playing around with the EQs.
And you get that sound.
Not my feedback.
That feedback is
Wondering why the
everywhere.
feedback
It
in
was like,
every
oh my
Sunday.
God, bro.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. Like. So in those situations, like you just had to play as loud as you can so you could hear yourself. But like being that you were on stage and you were never really out there hearing everything.
Yeah.
When you finally got a break and somebody else was playing and you're out there, you're like, oh my God, this sounds like garbage. Like I've been doing this whole time. This is what I was doing. After you hit studio, you start to see some of that stuff. You start to see like, yo, this is how I was operating before. Like I gotta change that. That's if you are conscious. I don't know if conscious is the right word, but like if you're aware or a self-aware musician, you turn away. You're like, okay, I can't do this anymore. This doesn't make sense. But there's people that I've been to places where if you're not playing like that, people are like, yo, you're playing wrong. And it's like, yo, you gotta be as loud as possible.
Yeah.
And having come from that culture, you understand where they're coming from. But having learned the proper way of doing things, a more professional way, you can't really go back. At least for me, I'm like, yo, I'm not going back there. Like, I don't know who's listening to me.
Yeah.
I don't know who's in the crowd. I don't know what gigs I'm gonna miss out on. I don't know who's judging me. Like, I can't be out here sounding like this.
Yeah.
You know, so like studio musicians. But what's some other aspects of being a studio musician? Like, let's break it down, right? When you're in a studio, there's different things that have to be done, right? There's different ways you gotta approach it. You know, depending if it's just instrumental or if there's singers or how many pieces in the band. You know, because now, you know, dudes just sit at their house and they put their part in and they send in the file. But what if you're in a studio setting with this other musicians? Is like, give us some examples. Will,
You can
things you've
create. You
experienced.
can still create whatever you're gonna create, and you still have the option to do exactly what you would have done if you would have just did it at home.
Yeah.
I know we always talk about magic being made. You know, maybe we should capture lightning since we're all together.
Yeah.
But sometimes the idea is what needs to be, because it's puzzle pieces being put together to make something special.
Yeah.
So the keys work their part out. Guitar, same thing. Bass, same thing. Drums. And singers. Let me give singers some love. Some.
Not too much.
Some are great in the studio and some are not.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Some people sound great live.
Yeah.
Put them in a studio booth and it's just like, is it nerves? What is it though?
No,
How
the
do you
studio
sound?
exposes more than the live sometimes.
so that goes for musicians as well.
Yes.
Because if you're not disciplined in a certain way, like when you hit the studio, it'll come out like
Yeah.
all your shortcuts, all that other stuff that you do
Sloppiness,
live,
all
all
that.
the sloppy stuff you get away with on live gigs that the rest of the band covers, you can't do that in a studio.
Yeah.
It's very meticulous. And God forbid they give you sheet music in the studio. Like you have to be like,
Yeah.
you know, it's one thing if they're like, okay,
I like sheet music in the
She's-
studio.
huh?
I like sheet music in the studio.
no, I do too, but it's like it's one thing if you're in the studio and like they gave you the file for the song with the vocals to
Oh, they
hear,
gave you a
Yeah.
chance to.
and then you could kind of work out the chords
Yeah.
or whatever based on whatever everybody's playing. But if they give you sheet music,
Mm-hmm.
now it's just this you. I don't want to say there's no wiggle room, but like
Yeah, there is no
It's-
wiggle room, but the best way to look at it as you now are you have the job of the interpreter.
yeah,
So-
yeah,
They'll give you a piece of sheet music. You read
Uh-huh.
the sheet music. You spit out what they had written, if that's what they want for the session. Be done with it. Never think about it. Never even put it in your memory banks.
that's true. Because that's one thing my teacher tells me. He's like, look, when you go into a studio session, they give you the paper. Don't try to do anything outside of that paper unless they specifically
Yeah.
tell you you
Mhm.
have the freedom to do whatever. But like otherwise, whatever the paper says, you gotta do. And then again, the more being exposed is also like, can you read the
Yeah.
paper
Verbatim.
on site verbatim? And that takes practice at home and practice in wherever else
Mm-hmm.
because so you just can't do it. You just can't say, oh, I have perfect pitch, so I'm gonna walk in here, perfect pitch. The paper
That's
don't
nice,
have
but
nothing
that's not
to
what
do.
they hired you for.
Yeah, yeah. Like so, you can't lean too much on your ear all the time,
Yeah.
which was a problem I had to the point. You know when I realized that leaning on my ear was a problem when I started doing the wedding gigs, and I was like, I don't have to practice this line. I heard this song enough. It's just gonna.
Oh, you heard this song enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting here like I got all the chords down. That's the meat and potatoes of it. The lines, I'll get to the lines or I'll fill the line in or
Yeah.
whatever like that. Then it was just like no. The line is the line.
Yeah.
Like the line on a record is there for a specific reason.
Yeah.
It fills in. It gives a certain vibe or whatever. You have to get that line.
Yeah.
You have to get the line. If you don't get the line, there's something missing. Like the people dancing is just like they start singing the line.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, where's this line at?
Yeah.
So I had to learn that. I was like, nah, this ear thing is good for some circumstances. Other places, like you can't. It made me overconfident. The fact that I was able to pick things up,
Yeah.
which is good in some things, like certain situations when you're at church and the church mother is singing, and she changing 3, 5, 6, 7 keys. It's great because people are like, yo, how do you do that? I'm like, I just don't think about it. Like Will usually says, I just
play.
I
Don't
just
think.
play, don't think. But like when you're in a gig, and
Then you have to think.
you have to think.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't think then either. It depending on a recorded session. Yeah, you gotta think. On a live setting,
Yeah.
if you already know the song, you know what it is. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good to just not even think and just play.
Just play it out. Yeah. Play it out.
Mhm.
If you're doing like a solo, okay, what would you say is the difference? If you're in a studio, you're not playing with a band, maybe there's a singer, but mainly it's just you. You're
Mhm.
playing like solo keys, or even solo bass if you're recording something that's just,
Mm.
What do you guys think about that? Like, what are some of the hang-ups that people might
It might be
run
even easier.
into?
It'll be easier. I am definitely one of those people. I don't like soloing live.
You don't like soloing live?
No, I'm trying to get better at it, but you know, it is what it is. However, in the studio, I don't have some of the challenges that I would have to live, where I'm trying to comp with the left while playing on the right. I'm in the studio.
Okay.
I make the lines how I want.
Yeah.
I didn't like that line. We overdub it. I fix the line.
Yeah, but the chords are still there.
Chords are still there.
That's true. That's true. You could sound very full
Mhm.
with just layering things on top of each other.
Yeah.
Than live. So in that aspect, right? In that aspect, live sort of has like an advantage in the sense, not advantage in the sense of what am I trying to say? Your live technique. I'm trying to say it.
I would.
If you're trying to sound, if trying to sound full
Mhm.
live is something you sort of have to develop versus in a studio where you don't have to sound full right there and then. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like in a studio you can layer stuff.
You
Live.
can, but even then, you still have to give them something
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah.
To make it full as well.
Yeah. No, you do, but like live, there's no patchwork. If you're playing by yourself live,
Yeah.
there's no rewind button. There's
Mm.
no like you have to like kind of. So that's another, I guess, studio has its W's over live, and live have
Yeah.
some of its own W's over studio.
Yeah.
Because, like you just live, you just have to have the skills right there and then. Studio, you could come back to it. You know what I mean? If it's just your own thing, you could just you could take months trying to figure something out. But if you're, of course, if you're like in a band, it's just like they hired you to do it, the sheet music, then you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, there's different it's sort of like a give and take. You gotta be able to do both. I think one of you guys said that.
At the top.
Will said, yeah, he said that at the
Yeah.
top. So, I definitely know there's, people gonna have their favorites. I'd rather do studio work. I'd rather do live
Mhm.
gigs. I'd rather play here or whatever. But like, if you want to be well rounded, if you want to be able to go anywhere and play with anybody, you gotta be doing both. Another thing I learned from Will was like, it's nice to learn technique, but learn records. He's like, learn records, especially if you want to be gigging, you gotta learn records, because you could have technique all day, but like, if you don't know any songs,
Mhm.
what's the point of technique? It's like earlier I was practicing that triad movement, and I'm like, yo, I don't know how to put it inside of a song. I got the technique. My hand is doing it, but like,
Yeah.
how do we apply it? You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I don't know. I think I'm off topic.
No.
No.
But like things, I think being a musician looks a lot easier than it is, like for the lay person who's just like
Oh
listens
yeah.
to music.
They just think that it just magically happens.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you just have these skills that
Yeah.
you don't work hard on it or nothing like that. It's just the background work is it's gritty. You be wanting to give up. Sometimes you practicing something for months and you're just like, yo, why can't I get this? I did it slow. I did it mid tempo. I had the metronome on. I did all the
Mhm.
technical stuff I'm supposed to do, but like my hand is just not. It's just not going.
Yeah.
Like, right? Me and Mikey learning giant steps.
Mm-hmm.
For Will, that's that's easy.
It's piece of cake.
Easy.
No.
His left hand can play it by himself. He's like and solo all at once. Left hand doing everything like and we're just like, yo, Mikey, let's put it on 50.
No. I have a long journey to go. No, I'm not.
Man, bruh. Nah, but we gotta admit, I know you don't like to toot your own horn, which is admirable, but compared to us, like, he talks about how his solo sucks and he needs to work on his solo, but we over here, we playing scales.
Yep.
Like, we're trying to get chord scale applications. We're still trying to get what scale goes with what chord and all this other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it's work. It's work. Like, there's so much to learn. Like, you sit
There's
there.
much to learn, but then once again, I always say, sometimes there's not a learning thing. It's more so just a doing. There is a play aspect. There is a feel aspect. So your feel determines really how far you go, to be honest.
Explain.
Even if you have the knowledge base of everything, if you don't have to feel.
See, I think that's what the problem I have with playing shout.
You can have the feel. You just gotta. I don't want to say not care, but not care. I'm not saying not care, but you learn everything and then forget it and play.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Because I'm having this issue with shout. Like, I have the chords, I don't have the feel.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I practice, and then I get to church on Sunday, and when the whole band comes together, I go right back to the basics, because I'm like, nah, I'm not taking this chance. I'm not hearing it. I'm not feeling it. Like, the feel is not there. What was that?
Very low down. You're not gonna hear it. I was just playing some shout stuff that we already played earlier before we even started recording.
I gotta get the feel. I don't understand it. I don't fully get it. I don't fully get it at all. Like, I could do the backup preacher chords, like bam. Even that, based on depending on the preacher, I'm just kind of like trying to catch the person's rhythm when they're talking, because everybody does it differently, and it's just like, I'm not used to it. I'm at a Baptist church now, trying to. Before I didn't play at a church that did that, so it's like, it's a learning curve, but it's not so. Here's what I want to say: just because you could do one thing doesn't mean you could do that next thing. Like, people tend to think, oh, he's so great at, but like, yeah, you could be great at that, but you can't play a simple. For you, that's a like, what? What is that? Like, your hands are just like, this Mozart stuff is not. It's not gelling with me.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you're saying, like the vibe of it. Like, there's a vibe for each type of music. There's guys who could play great gospel, but can't play a soca beat to save their lives. They're not used to it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even know how to approach it sometimes.
Yeah. Because I remember growing up, dudes who used to play a lot of gospel, when they try to play compa, they would put all these gospel chords in it, and the people would be like, what
You don't want that.
What are you doing? Yo, triads, bro, triads. Like, I remember.
I bought this Triton from Sam Ash not to play the triads.
That guitar patch was sick though on that Triton for compa, bro. He's doing it now. Can they hear it now?
Yeah, they'll be able to. Well, let me turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, guys would come in thinking they're gonna throw all these what do you call it, seventh chords and all these different. Like, no, what are you doing? This is not the style of music for this.
Yeah.
Like, soca, reggae, compa, like the Caribbean music.
Real simple.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
You just
Make
gotta
the vibe
catch
happen.
you gotta catch the vibe of it, the
Yeah.
rhythmic pattern or whatever, and you're good.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting some of the feel of shout,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm gonna need a lot more.
It's hard. It's tough. It's tough, especially if you didn't grow up in that type of.
Yes.
Yeah,
thing.
that's the thing. I didn't grow up in that
Yeah,
feel.
yeah.
It's, yeah.
So it's like it's not ingrained in you.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of listening and
Yeah.
like he said, you just gotta. It's doing.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep doing it. After a while, it'll just start to come to you.
Yeah.
He's creating a whole track over there. Will'll make a pro track in like less than 5 minutes with all the sounds and
Yeah.
orchestration and everything. I just sit there like,
Yo, he's
what is this?
he's cooking up something crazy right now.
It's real simple. Just 145, but I mean it's 20 years later, so I can say this now. I apologize to a lot of the Haitian pastors that came in to the Sam Ash and were looking at all the other keyboards, and I talked you into going to the Triton and then selling you a Triton by putting a dope guitar sound on, putting a kick drum on every beat to give you the then to get the hi hat going, the ride, the ting 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 ting, and then once you do that and you throw that accordion / synth lead on it, easy money.
That commission check was coming
Easy
in.
money, easy money. They didn't even have the money. They were like, sign me up for the Sam Ash card. And they would fill it out.
Yeah, bro. That track was real though when it came out.
Well, the Triton came out like,
That's a long time ago.
yeah.
At least 20 years.
Well, I'm trying to remember if I was selling Tritons or it was in between the time the Triton,
2001?
yeah, 2000, between 2000 and 2003.
Yeah.
So there was the Triton with the CD player built in, and then there was the after that the Triton Extreme. I remember around there.
Oh, I remember the Extreme.
Yeah, but that was like 2004. Yeah.
And the blue color.
Yeah, the blue one, yeah.
It was Triton. When did the first motif come out?
2001.
2001.
2001. I bought my first motif. 2001. $550. They walked into the Sam Ash trying to sell the keyboard. They said we'll only give you such and such. I said, listen, bro. I know I'm not supposed to do this. I'll give you $500 right now for that. And he said $550. I went to the bank. Went and got my $550. I went and got me a Motif 6.
For $550.
Yeah.
What was the retail price? It was.
Oh, it was up there. Yeah.
That's like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brand new.
It was. I mean, it was better.
Lightly
It was lightly used, but it looked better than a certain somebody that knows that also had a motif at that time. But mine was clean. His was a little bit faded. and the keyboardists that do watch this and they hear me, they don't know who I'm talking about.
They know who they are.
Yeah.
I think I know who they are too. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
I think so.
And we're sponsored by.
Yo, question though. Speaking of that, when did the XP8, the XP series come out?
The XP series came out in the late 90s.
96?
I want to say 96, 97.
Because that's on Fred Hammond's.
Well,
Pages
you
of
know what?
Life.
It might be before that, but
It's on Pages of Life.
Well, I believe it, but I tell you what, to this day, I think I have virtually every keyboard that I want, that I own, with the exception of one that I've already spoken to you that I want to take to just tour to move around with. But I would take an XP60 or 80 any day and leave it in the house,
Wow.
just for those sounds. Even though I can get the sounds of the Rolling Cloud, it's just It's at this point, it's a nostalgia feel.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and if you didn't have no money, and you was like us and the kids in Flatbush and in Bed-Stuy and in Crown Heights, everybody had the XP30. I hated that.
I hated the
that
30,
orange,
bro.
That was the orange screen. Nobody wanted the orange screen. We wanted the green screen.
Oh.
But at my school, we had the green screen.
Wow.
We had the XP 60, I think.
I couldn't stand that 30.
And it was such a good keyboard, and we knew. Thank God that times have changed now, so that when we do listen to things out of speakers, we actually have decent speakers. I will know. I was so tired of having good keyboards, Tritons, XP 60s or 80s.
Oh, it sound
coming
horrible.
out of
Yeah.
not even the newer Elises. I mean, even those are old now. But the
Yeah.
old school PV.
PV amps?
amps.
Oh,
Yeah.
bro.
Those square board.
I grew up with a PV amp, bro.
Oh, we all did, because that was your option. I said, this is horrible. And then they gave us the next option, which
the
was
Roland.
Rolands, and the Rolands were horrible too.
They were horrible too. Yeah, they had better. They sounded better than the PV.
They sounded better than the PV, but
But, like,
not by much. And then someone said, let's try to use
way
PA
too
speakers.
much bottom on the Roland, bro. I was like, yo, come on, yo, EQ this.
Well, once we got flat powered speakers,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
we all fell in love. It was like, all right, that's what it is.
Yeah, bro. Wow. He took me back, bro. I
No, you went back. You brought up the XP series
don't know. Yo. That PV amp, bro.
and that PV amp. Yeah. It didn't matter what keyboard you had. It didn't matter what
Dude,
keyboard you
son.
had. You still put in that PV, that horrible PV amp.
PV amp.
It made no sense.
Bro, we used to be playing. First of all,
That
we
KBA60.
had, it was a DX7, an old DX7 that I was playing at church.
Mm-hmm.
The sounds were going like the modulation. It was like it would go off key, so it was never really tuned at the times.
Yep.
So you had to take the cartridge out and then like go like it.
I had a Phaetar MIDI controller that does the same thing.
Put it back in, and like work. I forgot the modulation wheel. You had to hold it.
You had
Sometimes
to hold it, take a card, and to wedge it in. Yeah, I know.
wedge it in,
Yeah.
right? And then the PV speakers right here. And sometimes you're playing, you gotta you smack it to get your sound out. I'm like, oh my god, bro! And they had the EQ on the speaker. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to like whatever, but like.
But we didn't
A
need
lot of
we
times you
didn't
had to be
need
like,
the
"Whoa."
EQ. We just needed it to play a flat signal and be good. Because the boards were good. A DX7 is a good board, but we had to EQ it. Now it sounds like Who Shot John, or Ensoniq or whatever keyboard you had.
Yeah, bro.
Or the coup de grace, the Alesis QS 8.1.
That's my first professional keyboard, bro.
That was my, listen. I used it. I learned. I carried it everywhere. That thing was 100 pounds.
Yo, it was heavy.
But I also destroyed mine because I said I had the idea of one day figuring out I'm going to use every port on the back of this, not just the left and right model. I want to figure everything out. So I think I put a DJ light in a part that wasn't supposed to be for that. It had like this little BNC connector.
Yeah, I remember the BNC connector. What happened?
I think I killed it. That was it. And then it gave that horrible Alesis QS8 that everybody knows problem towards the bottom. How it had that if you hit the low A,
Oh my gosh, Mikey.
And then I got.
We went through a lot.
But then I got blessed with, which I remind anybody that knows me that knew me at that time, and especially the person that took it from me, that my grandmama bought me that.
Oh shoot!
I had
Get real.
I had a module. That's when I got heavy into modules. So I had this Roland XV5050. So it was a single unit joint, but that joint was clean.
Yeah.
It was clean. And then I was doing a live recording,
and somebody else was also playing on that live recording. Well known, very well known musician. Took my module. My grandmama gave me that module. Can you bring back my? I don't care what you did with that module. I want that module or some bread.
How long ago was it?
It's 2024, so it's about 20 years.
Hey,
But my grandmama bought me that.
I feel you. That sentimental value. It's the principle.
It's the principle. It's the principle.
Yo,
It's the
crazy.
principle.
That's crazy. Somebody copy your joint at a live recording, bro. That did happen a lot, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It wasn't even in New York.
It wasn't in New York.
It was in Maryland.
Oh,
Or was it Virginia? No, Maryland. You know who you are.
oh, he already knows.
Yeah.
You already know who he is. He probably got that module in his garage somewhere.
Nah, he probably got rid of it a long time ago, 20 years.
Oh man.
I mean, there's the rolling SoundCloud now, so at least we move towards the software.
okay, as studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roland or Korg? Old school. XP80 era. Roland or Korg? Like what?
Main stage? Keyscape?
Yeah.
No, bro. I'm talking about like
No,
80s era.
no, we're not talking about that
No,
no
I'm
more.
saying,
We're
like,
not talking
when you
about
were
that no
in that era.
That's like
what
that's
was
like
your
my
go-to?
that's like y'all bringing up this whole NORD stuff. I'm not going down that road. I'm not going down that road. Get a contact player, load up the contact sounds. You got all the keyboards you want. Then you got Keyscape, which gives you all of the pianos that you want.
Yeah.
You have Main Stage, which honestly is still very decent, just by default.
Yeah.
Put whatever you want. VSTs, that's the future. It's not even future, it's the now. Which is why I don't understand why we have to even have this discussion over
Michael Cole.
boards that don't allow USB audio pass through in the year 2024 when they should have been doing it since
They should've been
when
doing
did
that for a
the
while.
Mo XF come out?
Mo XF came out 6 no
Not the Motif XF, but the Mo XF. That was the first board, even though it was probably no the Kronos. When the Kronos came out,
the
the Kronos,
first one.
yeah, even the first one allowed USB audio pass through, meaning on one cable you can have MIDI and audio coming out the board, so the board acts as an audio interface instead of you having to always carry around your Focusrite or whatever funky little thing that you do because you want to play your NORDs and then say I want this stuff.
You won't even say the name.
Nah, because they did the company did that on purpose, and I don't agree with that. And I will always stand for the common man. I feel like the common man deserves better. So the fact that
but the NORD is like standard everywhere right now, bro.
yeah, because they have some nice sounds.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, they do have some nice sounds. I never said they don't have nice sounds,
Yeah, I know you didn't say
but
that.
they're better sounds that come out of your computer.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry. I know other people be like, no, take the NORD for the piano. I'll take Keyscape.
Yeah,
I think Keyscape is very good.
Yeah.
I'll take Ravenscroft. I'll take that. I would put Ravenscroft maybe around a little bit higher than the NORD, but I will put Keyscape even higher.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, what do I know?
I mean, you know more than I do.
I mean, we used to have to. You remember you had to program your keyboard. Like you had to program, not just push a button and get the sound. You had to like if you had
you
the
had
old school
yeah.
Korg X5, you had to program that joint.
Mhm.
If you had to roll the JD 800 or the JV 90.
JV, yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm not. It's got a decent organ, but
Ooh, the NORD.
yeah, but I feel like
Some people live on that.
my
bro.
default main stage has a better organ, and my iPad Hammond B3X.
On what
I think that's
software?
huh
The B3 on
on my iPad from Hammond is the best one.
the Hammond. Okay. Yeah, well,
Oh,
it's
because
made
it's from
by
here.
Hammond though. Like How you gonna beat that?
Well, people keep trying to. They swear by this red board because it's red. And my thing is, you're paying an extra 1,000, an extra 2,000, an extra 3,000 for what? For clout? Can you even play? Sorry.
Go ahead, man. Let it out. You know what I'm saying? This therapy. This is musician talk. You know what I'm saying? The music conversations you want. This is why we here.
And I'm not saying.
You Cat Williams right now.
Well, let me. I don't want to do all of that, but I will say I'm not. And let me just say, it is a very nice board. It's a good board.
Nice. Yeah.
It is a good board. However, there's just certain drawbacks that in 2024 they should not have.
I feel you.
Oh, it's got a great keyboard bed. Yes, it should have a great keyboard. Oh, it sounds great. It should sound great in 2024. Now, what are we doing for an internal? Well, we don't want to muck it up with the technology, but you already have. Each iteration of the new board, you move more and more advanced.
That's true.
You keep trying to get away from screens, but you keep adding screens. You're adding screens.
Yeah,
You're making
that's true.
screens
Yeah.
bigger so you can
That's
edit
true.
and you can do what you need
That's
to do.
true.
So, seeing that you're going that route, you
Uh-huh.
really have just purposely put yourself 20 years behind everyone else.
Or are they doing the Apple?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're
Yeah,
doing.
you see
No,
what I'm
that's
saying?
exactly what they're
the
doing.
Apple.
But the thing is, how much of a hype beast can you be by doing a payment plan for a Nord? Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of you guys out there haven't even paid full price for Nord. You went and did a payment plan so you could just have the Nord that you want to have or try to be whatever. Like, nah, for what?
Yo, Mikey's getting real. He said the
No.
name. He
No,
said
no.
the name now. He's saying the name.
Now, some people. I'm not. If you're a professional musician and you do that, I have no issue with that whatsoever. So let me say that. But if you're some kid
Oh yeah.
that has zero credit,
That's true.
that has
I feel you.
that works a minimum wage job, or they play at a church and they're not even being paid the handsome amount that they should be paid, and now you're using all of that to have this red keyboard,
Yeah.
it's not wise.
You're not putting it to use
And
the way it should be anyway.
there's more to life than playing bump music or worship music on a red keyboard.
Yeah, he went to the church, bro.
Well, the majority of people that I see purchasing these are
That's
that.
true.
Yeah.
Because the ones, the more professional ones or the more seasoned ones, unless they just don't care about that USB audio pass-through, which they have every right to. Let me clarify that. There are musicians that will carry around 7 keyboards. If one doesn't have a USB audio pass-through, that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
actually
but
okay with that.
Yeah, but somebody gotta have.
Well, yes, but
Yeah.
as a professional, you'll have multiple keyboards.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
But
if
to-
one of
but
them
to
doesn't
just-
have
yeah.
it, it's not an issue. But like
But to pay $6,000 for a board that doesn't have it,
I can't see myself paying $6,000 for a keyboard, man. Especially with all the softwares.
Yeah.
Like, why am I paying this money? Why?
Yeah.
That's
the
like,
Apple, because it's red.
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense, bro.
And this is coming from someone that I promise you, I'm not saying I was the very first person, but I've had Nord. I don't want to say boards because I didn't have the board. I had the Nord Electro, the first version, and I had the Nord Electro 2, the module. Because remember I told you I was in the modules, and honestly, that was at the time that was one of the best modules I ever had. That and a Kurzweil, I forget whatever the model number is. But yeah, but I messed up on that one. I messed up on an update and killed that module. Yeah, back then there was no USB. That's why I'm so pro USB. I think it's the PTSD that kicked in. That's forcing like, okay, now you have USB, good. Now I can update the firmware.
You had
Now I
to
can make it
have
sound
the-
better.
You had to have the what do you call it?
No, even worse, you had to update via MIDI. And when you update via MIDI,
I'm thinking cartridge. Remember?
I remember the cartridge. The cartridge is better. But remember, they got rid of the cartridge.
Yeah.
And once they got rid of the cartridge, they would try to update it via MIDI. So then, if you were lucky enough, you might have a USB to MIDI connection to your computer.
Yeah.
But even back then, USB 1.1
It was
was
tricky.
not. Yeah, it was very tricky. So something happens, like the module turns off or the computer turns off.
Yeah.
That's the end of your module.
Yeah.
There was
It
no.
could be no interruptions, Michael. There
Yeah.
could be no interruptions, bro. You interrupt that joint, forget it, bro. Yo.
Mm.
Now you can play. I've actually played a service
Mm.
with sounds on my iPhone.
Yeah,
I just plugged it up to the
Yeah.
to the keyboard.
I have done multiple shows
know,
on just on my iPhone.
Yeah.
I've done shows where people swore there was a Hammond behind the curtains,
Uh-huh.
and I'm talking about this is not recent. I'm talking 2000. When did the iPod it was like the iPod that went along with the iPhone, the very first version, like the very first version.
That's 2000.
Yeah, I still have it in my house. Screen cracked and everything. But I had this B3 app and this Rhodes app, and I had Sample Tank,
Yeah.
and I made that joint
Sample
work.
Tank.
and
Oh,
that
my
that that joint worked.
Yeah, bro.
And this is years ago.
Yeah. This is why I don't understand why you gotta pay $66,000 for a
Well,
keyboard, bro.
because once again,
Like you can't get, you're not gonna get great. You can't replace a bass with
Well,
a software. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll do you
can't
one
replace
better.
a drum with a software. I get that.
I'll
But
do
like
you
a
one better.
keyboard,
95% of the population, if they hear you play a Nord piano, or they hear this one play a Korg piano, or they hear this one play a Roland piano,
yeah.
they can't tell a difference.
Yeah.
They can't tell a difference.
And you're playing for them.
And you're playing for them.
Yeah.
So well, I want to be comfortable. Okay, be comfortable. But just acknowledge the fact that they don't know or care. It's not the old days where you had a certain keyboard, the piano sounded like trash. Or you had or you remember the pianos used to be trash, and then the electric pianos were trash, and the organs were horrible, and the guitars were horrible. Everything, every sound, we made it work.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've done. Thank God for Brooklyn, because there's a lot of Caribbean funeral homes that just have like a Casio or a little Yamaha student
man.
keyboard.
Yeah.
You
I know,
think-
I'm thinking of one right now.
Listen, I don't
still have a Casio.
I don't
Yeah.
bring nothing except for a pedal. I'll be like, all right, let's go,
Yeah.
make it work.
You make it work. You switch between whatever sounds you gotta switch between, and like you play the song.
There you go.
Mhm.
Very simple.
Yeah, and if you got skills like you're supposed to, it's gonna sound good.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that I want to always carry around a Casio or
No.
Yamaha?
No.
A small Yamaha studio keyboard? No. You know,
Nah, but Casio came up, though. They be having some sounds that's like
Casio been
Oh.
decent, but we never wanted to admit that.
I know. I went to a church at Mikey. When I
Mhm.
first started playing at your church, I'm not gonna say the church name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Casio. I'm like, yo, you guys got a keyboard? Should I bring my own keyboard? What keyboard did I have at the time? I don't remember what keyboard I had. But they're like, no, we got a great keyboard. The guy who was like, we went and bought it, and it's like, it's a professional keyboard. I rolled up, it's a Casio. I'm like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I got a Casio? Yeah.
Casio tone.
With no foot pedal. I was like, y'all couldn't tell me. And good thing, like when I was growing up on that DX7,
Mm-hmm.
they never had a foot pedal. So I had to learn how to sound full and move around
Mhm.
without. So that saved me on that Casio. But that next week, I was like, yo, I'm bringing my foot pedal, bro. Y'all crazy. A Casio. And they
Yeah,
want you to
Casio.
sound like, yo, like we here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We here. It took years to get a keyboard at that church.
Churches buy the keyboard.
I love y'all though. I love y'all. I love the.
I
thank you
do
for
and
the
I don't
experience.
sometimes. Churches buy
You know what I'm
the
saying?
keyboard. Buy the keyboard. Invest in your church. Buy the drums.
Yeah,
Buy the bass amps.
yeah.
Yes.
And pay the kid who's been playing since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Pay for free at y'all church.
Oh my God.
And y'all talking about he's homegrown. He don't need to get paid, but y'all paying everybody else who's coming out from everywhere else. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I still love y'all. I'm not gonna say y'all name. Y'all know who.
Yeah.
Are they gonna get offended?
Yeah.
They probably are.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good. You know, the truth hurts. You know, like that Tom Brady Hurts commercial. Love hurts.
Yeah.
The truth hurts. You gotta take it. It's a pill. It's that old school pill that didn't taste good.
Yeah.
What was that remedy that codfish oil?
Codfish.
Yeah, this is
yeah,
codfish
cod
oil.
liver oil.
I gotta take that. You might throw up after it, but it just saved you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro. Yeah, I think we had a pretty good show today. I think we went off topic, but it still
kind of connects.
It still kind of connects. I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I take responsibility.
I went off on tangent. The red board will always cause a problem.
The red board.
The red board, yeah.
It gives you wings.
But I do have a red board as well.
Oh, man.
I have two red boards, and one of them is the Korg SV1, and even then that one was horrible. But thank God, like I said, for updates, now it has a decent piano on it. It's one of my favorite boards. I leave that in the living room.
That MX, what they call it too?
Oh, the MX, yeah, the MX 49 I have.
The 49, yeah.
Yeah, it's a baby motif.
Yeah.
Then you got the
I
motif.
don't know why. When I think MX49, I think back in the day when Steve Young was playing for the 49ers, back when they had when they were good.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't hate me, y'all. I love y'all. But I live in New York and I'm not a Jets fan or a Giants fan.
Me neither. Yep.
I'm not a Knicks fan. I know a lot of y'all are gonna stop watching, but
now
like,
you're not gonna watch no more.
Oh,
I'm not a
man.
Knicks fan. I'm not a Mets fan. I don't deal with teams that lose. Y'all got too much money to be out here losing. I'm sorry. I'm not loyal like that.
Yeah, we might have to end this one.
Yeah. All right. God bless y'all, though. We love y'all. And thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. Why Music Podcast.